All right, here we are. Happy Monday, February the 19th, 2024, and welcome back to another Medical Monday. So, I have a few fun studies for you today. See, is it showing up, Alejandra? Is it good? Okay, thank you. I was saying something weird. So before I start talking about some cool studies that made me excited, I want to make a few announcements. So, we have an anxiety class for parents so that parents can learn how to deal or how to manage stress and anxiety in their children. It's this Friday, starting at 6 p.m. here in the studio at Nourish Wellness. It is $20 per person, and we ask that it be adults only. There will not be childcare, so please do not bring your children with you. We want to be able to focus because Melissa gives lots of great information during the class, and she'll leave time for questions and answers. I have two sons myself, ages 14 and 19. So one is in college. I definitely need this class. College is very anxiety provoking, as you may know. So I will also be there to learn, and I encourage you to sign up as soon as possible because it is possible that this class may sell out because it is a popular topic. So it's this Friday at 6 p.m., and you can sign up for it. You can go through the website nourishyakima.com or through Vagaro, and it's $20 per person. The other thing is, I want to let you know that we do have memberships to the studio. Whenever you are a member of the studio, you get unlimited attendance to all of the yoga and meditation classes, and then you get 20% off for all of the workshops. So if you were a member, you would get 20% off for Melissa's class and any special workshops that we do, like the sound bath or cooking classes. You would get 20% off of that. So it's a really great deal. Right now, it's $50 a month. We do have 7 yoga and meditation classes regularly per week, maybe more than that. I know that for most days of the week, there's 2 classes a day, and then a couple of days, it's just 1 class a day. So there's lots of options there. And then we have lots of cooking classes, nutrition classes, parenting classes. So there's lots of goodies for you waiting at the studio. So consider that. If you want to just try it out, you can absolutely just buy single classes, or we have packages as well that helps you save money on buying just single classes. And then finally, we are accepting new patients. So if you're trying to get into a pediatrician and looking for a new office, then consider us. We do have lots of good access to see same day sick appointments. We can get your child in relatively soon for their well child checks. We communicate via phone calls and text messaging, which is very convenient. And I'm the after hours line. So um, it's a great place to bring your children. We're happy to have them. We practice here pediatric primary care with a lifestyle medicine emphasis, which means that we're going to talk to you also about things that you can do with your lifestyle habits. So, nutrition, sleep, stress, making sure that you're having all of those opportunities to optimize the lifestyle, sometimes instead of or in addition to medication. So sometimes we can avoid meds for certain things, or at least do a trial of lifestyle medicine interventions before we need medications for certain things. But for almost everything, lifestyle medicine changes in your habits and behaviors are going to also support the condition and maybe even decrease the amount of medications or just make everything better and more manageable. So it's never wrong to institute lifestyle habits, even if it means that you may still have to take some medication for something. So Anyway, we are big about lifestyle medicine. If that's something that resonates with you and you want to learn about how diet and nutrition and sleep and stress reduction and physical activity all help your child live a longer, happier, more joyful life, healthier life, then definitely check us out here at Nourish Wellness. So, speaking of lifestyle medicine, today I'm going to talk about legumes. So I have one, two, three studies that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to give you guys some more information. So I forgot to bring my water next to me. My mouth feels dry. So the first study is called Legume Intake and Cancer Risk in a Network of Case Control Studies. So I was not able to access the full text for this one. It was not free, but it was published February the 6th of this year. So hot off the presses in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition. So they wanted to see what the relationship was between legume intake and different types of cancers. So they looked at data from a series of case control studies that were conducted in Italy and in the Swiss canton of Vaud. I have no clue where that is. I'm assuming it's Switzerland. I have no clue. If you know where the Swiss canton of Vaud is, put it in the comments in the chat there because I've never heard of that before. I'll have to look it up. But these were case control studies that were conducted between 1991 and 2009. So they looked at how much legume they were eating. So if you don't know what legumes are, beans, split peas, and lentils, basically all your bean family, okay? And they looked at cancer in the oral cavity, esophagus, larynx, which is here, your voice box, stomach, colorectal, breast, endometrium, ovary, prostate, and kidney. So lots of different sites of cancer. And they controlled for sex, age, education level, smoking, alcohol, body mass index, physical activity, comorbidities like other medical problems, consumption of fruit, vegetables, processed meat, and total calorie intake. So they really wanted to see beans themselves. Are beans or legumes, which is a bigger category than just beans, but I like to just abbreviate it to just say beans. Okay, it's easier. Legumes is like harder to say. So anyway, beans. Eating beans itself, how much does it contribute to cancer risk? So after they did all of their analyses, they found that the only cancer that showed a significant association when they looked at the data was colorectal cancers. Although most of the estimates were below unity, meaning that there probably is a protective effect. Whatever you're using cutoffs for, clinical significance, you want to say, that was the only one that was clinically significant, colorectal cancer. And we do know that colorectal cancer has a really big association with diet. So that's important to know. So compared to no legume consumption, the odds ratio for consuming at least one portion of legumes, and I wasn't 100% clear on this because, like I said, I could not access the full text, but I think it's just one portion of legumes per week. Was 0.79, which means that if you're eating one serving of legumes, which typically one serving is just half a cup, it decreased your risk by 21% to have colorectal cancer. Whenever you increased it to 2 or more portions per week, it was 0.68. Oh gosh, I'm so bad at mental math. So I think that's 32, right? Yes, 32% decreased risk. I mean, that's huge. And the estimate for an increment of one portion per week, so meaning like for each portion of legumes you ate per week in addition or more, for each portion you ate per week, each serving was 13%. That means that you can decrease your colorectal cancer risk by 13% for each serving of legumes per week. So the last sentence of the abstract is, the inverse association between legume consumption and colorectal cancer suggests a possible role of legumes in preventing cancer risk. I'm going to talk more about why that may be in a little bit. Okay. The next one is, this one is from 2015, and I got this from the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine when they sent out a little announcement of this new study. They included this older study too from 2015. The full text is available for this one for free. Not that the other one isn't available, it's just you have to pay a bunch. But this one's available for free. So if you wanted to read the whole thing, you can. So this one is entitled Dietary Legume Consumption Reduces Risk of Colorectal Cancer, Evidence from a Meta-Analysis of Cohort Studies. This was published in March of 2015 in Scientific Reports. So they did a meta-analysis, which means that they did a study of studies. Basically, they got a bunch of studies and they analyzed those studies and they looked at prospective cohort studies, so a group that they follow over time, to look at the association between legume consumption and the risk of colorectal cancer. They looked at after they did all their analyses and found which studies they were going to include, they included 14 studies, and they found that higher legume consumption was associated with a decreased risk of colorectal cancer. So there was an inverse effect, right? The more legumes you ate, the lower your colorectal cancer risk was. And soybean intake was also associated with a decreased risk of colorectal cancer. So they say the findings from our meta-analysis support an association between a higher intake of legume and a reduced risk of colorectal cancer. Further studies, controlled for appropriate confounders, are warranted to validate the associations. You always want to say that because, that's why we do research and we keep doing it to see if we can reproduce the results. Okay, so the last study is also full text available, also published this year, January 23rd of 2024, entitled Partial Substitution of Red Meat or Processed Meat with Plant-Based Foods and the Risk of Colorectal Cancer. This was published in the European Journal of Epidemiology. So they wanted to examine whether partial substitutions of red or processed meat, so that means not going fully plant-based, just saying, okay, I'm going to take away some of the red or processed meat in my diet and I'm going to substitute it with whole grains, vegetables, fruits, or a combination of these. And they wanted to see what the relationship was between that and colorectal cancer risk in Finnish adults. So this one is from Finland. So they got 5 Finnish cohorts, resulting in 43,788 participants. And they modeled partial substitutions of red or processed meat with corresponding amounts of plant-based foods. So for the red meat, it was 100 grams per week, and the processed meat was 50 grams per week that they did the substitution analyses for. Okay, they adjusted for age, sex, energy intake, and other relevant confounders. Just as an aside, I really like that for a couple of these studies, they are controlling for energy intake, as I'm going to talk about in a little bit, why eating more plant-based foods helps. Because whenever you're over consuming calories, you're increasing your metabolic risk. And whenever you're causing or getting into metabolic dysfunction, it's going to increase your risk of chronic conditions. So heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, those things, but it also increases your risk of cancer. So we do want to control for just, are you in general overeating? But I will say that overeating is going to be way easier when you're eating ultra processed foods and animal products. So we'll go back over that in a little bit. So for the results, the median follow-up was 28.8 years, and there were 1,124 colorectal cancers that were diagnosed. They did observe small risk reductions when red meat was substituted with vegetables, fruits, or whole grains, vegetables and fruits combined as well. For processed meat, the substitutions yielded 1% risk reductions. Substituting red or processed meat with whole grains was associated with a decrease colorectal cancer risk only in participants with a less than median whole grain intake, which means eating whole grains is good for you, okay? So if the participants were already eating a lot of whole grains, when they did extra substitutions, they didn't see a bunch of improvements. But remember, these people aren't going fully plant-based. They're just looking at what happens whenever you're substituting. You're eating more plants, you're eating more fiber. So their conclusions are even small, easily implemented substitutions of red or processed meats with whole grains, vegetables, or fruits can lower colorectal cancer risk in a population with a high meat consumption. These findings broaden our insight into dietary modifications that could foster colorectal cancer primary prevention. Okay, so that last one was kind of, a little bit different because it wasn't focused on legumes, it's focused on everything else. So whole grains, vegetables, fruits, or combination. But I want to talk about beans. If you've read my book, you know I'm a bean pusher, and I try to get my patients on beans, getting those beans in starting at 6 months of age, lentil, split peas. I mean, they're just so amazing for so many ways. They have They're very high in antioxidants. So we think of antioxidants usually in fruits and vegetables, but beans are super high in antioxidants. Just think about beans and all the different colors and, the different varieties. They have lots of vitamins. They're high in iron. They're a good source of protein for those of you that are protein afraid of not getting enough protein. But I think one of the biggest boons of beans, is fiber. So it is our biggest bang for our buck when it comes to whole food sources of fiber. Each half cup of beans has at least 7 grams of fiber, if not more, depending on which variety you have. And fiber, I think, is one of the key reasons why plants are so beneficial for us. Why is fiber so good? Well, it improves digestion and decreases your risk of constipation. So it keeps your waste coming out. It helps you excrete waste efficiently and effectively. And in our waste products, we can have buildup of toxins. So, and this, maybe sounds woo-woo, but it's not. I mean, they've done studies to show that women with breast cancer, the more they poop, the less likely they are to have breast cancer recurrence. So you do want to keep things moving, and fiber helps you because it creates that osmotic effect. It helps pull water into the stool, keep the stool soft, and helps you stay regular. Okay. The other thing that it does is it helps excrete excess hormones and cholesterol. So what fiber does is it binds to excess hormones and cholesterol that are being processed through your digestive system, through the liver. Okay. So it's a good binder for that. It sticks to it and then you poop it out. Okay. So that's one of the reasons why you may have heard in commercials that things like oatmeal are good to reduce your cholesterol. That's one of the mechanisms of why it works. But oatmeal isn't the only plant with fiber. They all have fiber, and beans are a really good source of both soluble and insoluble fiber. There's more than one type. There's lots of different types of fiber, and fiber is so good for us. Okay, here's the third benefit of fiber, and one of the ones I was kind of referring to earlier when it comes to calorie consumption. So fiber contributes to fullness and satiety because it creates bulk. Fiber does not have calories. Fiber goes through your gut. You do not absorb it. However, it binds to water, it attracts water, and it creates more bulk. Because of that, you feel fuller with less calories. So you're feeling nice and satisfied and full, but you're actually eating less overall. And you're not absorbing a bunch of that fiber that's inside of you. It gets excreted with your waste. Not just that, though. It's not just like whatever, it's not useless. I'm going to talk about how fiber is really efficient. But whenever we're consuming less calories, it contributes to our longevity and metabolic health because we avoid energy toxicity. Energy toxicity is when we're consuming too many calories. And because of that, it affects our metabolism, leads to these chronic conditions like diabetes and heart disease and those kinds of things. So, eating more plants, especially beans, is going to contribute to our fullness and satiety with less calories overall. But that fiber that you don't absorb and stays in your digestive tract, it serves an amazing purpose. It is food for your gut microbiome. So, all of these different types of fiber, the different types of beans, the different types of fruits and vegetables and whole grains, they are providing food for your gut microbiome and helping foster healthy colonies. And these feed back into your body, help you feel good, decrease your risk of anxiety and depression, help you feel full. Yet another mechanism. They create these short chain fatty acids and they create other chemicals that actually help you feel full and satisfied so you're less likely to overeat. Okay, so those are four mechanisms of why fiber is amazing, and beans are our biggest bang for our buck when it comes to fiber. Okay, improve digestion, decrease risk of constipation, excrete excess hormones and cholesterol, contribute to fullness and satiety, and feed your gut bugs. Okay, so beans are great. I'm a bean pusher. Eat more beans. Okay, so what are beans again? Or what are legumes? Beans, split peas, lentils. Remember, soybeans are beans. Don't be afraid of tofu and tempeh. Yes, there is a skill that needs to be learned and how to cook with it. It's kind of like chicken breast. If you get it out of the package and just eat it plain, it's not going to taste good. Tofu is the same way. You have to season it, you have to marinate it, you have to do things with it, and then you're going to fall in love with it. But it's just 1 out of 400 edible beans. 400 edible beans. There's a lot of choice out there. So if you're afraid of soybeans for whatever reason or you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to eat it. But I recommend that you do if you haven't tried it to get used to it because it's super health promoting. If you're not used to eating beans, many Americans are not because it's not part of our typical diet. Start low and go slow. Even with just a tablespoon at a time per day, the next week increase it to 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons, whatever. However, I want to say that gas is a good indicator that you are feeding your gut bugs and they are happy and you are fostering healthy, happy, health promoting gut bugs, a gut microbiome. So don't be afraid of gas. Gas is your friend, okay? It's a good thing. It means you're feeding those supportive colonies in your gut. So let me give you a few ideas of how you can eat more beans, legumes, and then I will see if there's any questions. So that last study was talking about substitutions. If you're not ready to go fully plant-based, you're just like, that's not realistic for me and my family, but I want to eat more plants, substitute part of your meat in recipes. So this is really easy, and things like, say you're making like a meat sauce for your spaghetti or your lasagna. Take half of the ground beef out and substitute it with cooked lentils. Not only is it delicious, I'm telling you, it is so freaking good. It tastes so good. It's going to reduce the amount of calories, the amount of fat, increase your fiber. It's going to be so good. So that's one thing that you can do. Use bean pasta instead of traditional wheat pasta. It still has the fiber in it. That's good. Blend beans into sauces and smoothies. So even if you're just going to make a tomato like marinara pasta, you can take some white beans or cannellini beans and blend it into the marinara sauce. You can do that with a lot of different sauces. Like say you're making a pesto sauce, you can get some white cannellini beans or some chickpeas and blend it into that pesto sauce and get some beans in there. You can blend beans into smoothies. Now, I do recommend that you rinse them well and get the salt out of them, but that is a good way to make for a hearty smoothie with lots of iron and protein. Of course, bean dips, everybody knows that. Everybody loves bean dips, hummus. You can make your own, all kinds of different bean dips, white bean dips, black bean dips, hummus, all those things. You can use beans to bake. You can put it into your muffins and sweetbreads. Have you heard of black bean brownies? You can put kidney beans into brownies. You can put it into your banana bread. I mean, there's so many ways. Your muffins. So be creative here. Look up recipes. It's not that difficult, and you're adding that good fiber, the bang for the buck. And then just get used to eating more ethnic food. So obviously, we know Mexican food, there's a good use of beans, Mediterranean food, Asian. My youngest son is Ethiopian. Oh my gosh, Ethiopian food, so many different lentils, split peas, chickpeas, so, so good. Indian food, lots of use of legumes. So if you just start to eat more of those ethnic foods, you'll see how easy it is to incorporate more legumes. Obviously, I'm very passionate about this topic because I could not stop talking. Now there's only 5 minutes left for questions. Let's see if there's any questions anywhere. Thank you all so much for watching. Does anybody have any questions about anything I just covered or anything else? And I'm happy to answer them. So I hope that this will inspire you to eat more beans. Start gently, especially if you're not used to it. Also, just know that canned legumes are fine. Now they even have canned lentils that you can buy. They have frozen legumes. It's so, so convenient. Utilize your convenience foods. If you're trying to keep a low salt diet, just rinse them. That's all. But sometimes it's even convenient. You could just drain them and put it straight into your sauces. You don't have to add extra salt into your dips. It's already in there. So all kinds of ways that you can use beans. So start just one time, one recipe a week and move up from there. But any addition of those beans, you can see that you are promoting your health, you're decreasing your risk of colon cancer and doing all kinds of wonderful things. So let's see if there's any questions. Doesn't look like anybody has questions. So that was perfect then. So I'll have some this week. There was a lot of amazing studies that came out. So I wanted to put those together because they're all on the same theme. So that seemed pretty easy, but I'm excited to share a few others that apply to lifestyle medicine with you next week. And just keep up the feedback. I know that a lot of you can't watch this live because you're working and all those things. This time just works great for me. So I'm going to continue on this time. Send in your questions. You can DM us and just let us know if you have any specific questions you want me to answer on Medical Mondays. But also just let me know if you're able to watch this in the replay and you're liking it and it's helping you and you're liking the format, or if you have any other suggestions. So thank you so much for your attention, and go eat some beans. Remember, I am a bean pusher. I'm going to tell you to eat your beans. If you're not used to them though, start low and go slow. So I don't want to hear about any GI distress, but if you start low and go slow, you will adapt. Your gut bugs will adapt, and they're going to be so happy and they're going to be so thankful. So I'm thankful for you. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. And I hope that you have a very plantastic day.